Greetings all, and welcome to the 40th episode of TM Technical Movement. For today, we'll be looking at the Heart Stamp, Expanding Force and Lumina Crash attacks, and the Heal Block, Power Trick, Trick Room, Wonder Room, Magic Room, Heal, Pulse, and Instruct techniques. In effect, the Heart Stamp attack involves user acting cute and arousing the opposition before striking them quickly and viciously with psychic power. The Heart Stamp attack is a rare move not only by the members of the Smoochum and Woobat families, as well as Love Disc, as a result of their unique connection to courtship and cute appearances. In a Heart Stamp attack, the user arouses the opponent by either acting cute or through some other fashion in order to lull them into a false sense of security. Once they have their target snared, the user then quickly lashes out at them physically while exuding a strong psychic energy field, dealing decent amounts of physical psychic type damage in the process in the case of the Woobat family, leaving a heart-shaped mark in the process. Aside from the damage dealt, the sheer shock involved in going from attracted to slammed more often than not leaves many opponents dazed and confused, in turn causing them to flinch about 30% of the time, even if that unfortunately prevents the move from being affected by items like King's Rocks. It may not be strong enough to leave more than a slight mark against heavily armored opponents, but when little else is available, the move can at very least help provide some recovery time while the user prepares a more useful attack. Due to its unique method of execution, there is no way to directly counter or dodge the Heart Stamp attack. Metallic armor can, however, help reduce and negate the damage dealt by the attack, but rocky armor is unlikely to perform as well on its own. The Heart Stamp attack is not a common enough move that will likely not be seen much in battle, but when available, it is a decent offensive strike that should be countered with decent defenses and especially some form of protection against flinching in order to nullify its most dangerous attribute. In essence, the Expanding Force attack involves user attacking opponents with a vacuum-like burst of psychic energy that draws part of its power from outside sources. The Expanding Force attack is a rare move that is generally only acquired by Pokémon through artificial interactions, though it can be learned naturally by Armor Rouge. The move itself involves user attacking with a vacuum-like burst of psychic energy that is generally confined to a small box-shaped area, as it draws energy not only from the user, but also the surrounding area. Because the attack requires that the move be focused in a small area normally, it is a bit less powerful than a standard psychic attack, and does not have any special secondary effects outside of direct damage. However, where this move truly shines is in its use of the environment to amplify its power. Because the attack draws from both the user and the environment, it can be effective when there is excess psychic energy in one's surroundings. When this attack is used while psychic terrain is active, it will draw from this energized source and not only receive a 50% increase in power, but, as the name suggests, will allow the attack to be spread across the entire area in front of the user, expanding its range in order to hit both opponents in a multi-Pokemon battle. While this might come with a normal 25% reduction in power that can be seen in attacks that hit multiple opponents, this nonetheless can grant the attack a significant boost in power and render it a fearsome weapon to contend with when multiple targets are up for grabs in combat, helping to explain why it's converted into TM218 for LouyseCosa's 9th generation line of TMs. Due to its use of psychic energy to inflict damage, there is no way to directly counter or dodge the Expanding Force attack. Strong metallic armor can help reduce and negate the damage dealt by the attack, but weaker metallic armor and rocky armor in general are unlikely to perform as well on their own. The Expanding Force attack is a potent move that can certainly make life miserable for those that have to face it, and while it might only be moderately powerful in most cases, if the opponent has the advantage of psychic terrain on their side, it can quickly prove to be a terrifying force to reckon with, and something that can cause severe damage to just about any number of Pokemon opposing the user in battle. Considered to be the signature attack of Espathra, the Lumina Crash attack involves user generating a blinding burst of psychic light from its eyes in order to inflict damage. The Lumina Crash attack is a unique variation on the basic psychic powers that many psychic-type Pokemon possess that enables Espathra to deal a considerable amount of damage to a target and severely weakening their capacity to take further special attacks. In essence, the Lumina Crash attack involves user generating and releasing a blinding series of flashes of psychic energy like light straight from the eyes in order to attack both the body and mind of the target at once, inflicting notable damage in the process. This powerful flash of light might seem fancy on its own, but because it attacks both body and mind at the same time, the flash can both deal mental damage and induce blindness and disorientation in anything that gets hit by it. This will cause the target to lose their footing and let down their guard in their mind and body and be unable to properly defend their forms against the special attacks of others as much as they normally would, critically decreasing their base special defense stat about twice as much as normal in the process. This gives the attack a tremendous degree of utility to it in taking down much larger and stronger opponents, and while it might not come off as extremely dangerous in power alone, it can more than make it possible for Espathra to deal severe damage to a target with following attacks and elevate them beyond their otherwise decently high base special attack stat. Due to its use of psychic energy to inflict damage, there is no way to directly counter or dodge the Lumina Crash attack. Strong metallic armor can help reduce and negate the damage dealt by the attack, but weaker metallic armor and rocky armor in general are unlikely to perform as well on their own. The Lumina Crash attack might not be common enough to be seen as a serious threat to many, but if placed up against an Espathra with access to this move, only strong defenses and moves that increase the user's special defense stat will likely be able to fully counter its otherwise potent debilitating attributes. Much as the name suggests, the heal block technique involves sheathing the opposing side of the battlefield in a shield of psychic energy that damages their brain functions and prevents them from healing their health through techniques, attacks, abilities, and items. The heal block technique is an uncommon but nonetheless potent move that can more than make things easier for struggling trainers by ensuring that any opponent that enjoys healing itself through any conventional standards will be unable to do so for at least a little while. In effect, the heal block itself is a sheath or shield of psychic energy that, after being placed upon the side of the battlefield occupied by the opposition, hampers their brain functions for about 5 combat turns before wearing off and prevents them from mustering the mental gumption needed to utilize any form of direct health restoration, including those provided by techniques, attacks, abilities, and items. The simple but dangerous move might not have much practical use except in extreme conditions, but as a tool for wrecking self-restorative teams, this technique can easily decimate their strategy and help bring the otherwise defensive specimens down for the count. Aside from waiting for it to wear off, there is no way to directly counter the effects of the heal block technique. In effect, the power trick technique involves user using a psychic power to swap its own physical offenses and defenses for a short period of time. The power trick technique is a poorly understood move whose exact functions are somewhat limited, but nonetheless can come in handy during the course of a battle. In a power trick technique, the user utilizes its power of psychic suggestion to physically alter its body structure for a short period of time in such a fashion as to effectively swap its attack and defense stats. While perhaps simple to employ, the power trick technique is a rare specialized move that few trainers will be able to make much use of in practice. Even so, if the opponent thinks they can beat a Pokemon based solely on the physical stats, this move at the very least can help turn whatever advantage they might have right back against them. Due to its unique attributes, there is no way to directly counter the effects of the power trick technique. In essence, the trick room technique involves user generating a little room of psychic energy that alters the movement speeds of all Pokemon in battle, and thus allows slower Pokemon to move before faster ones. The trick room technique is a rare and bizarre technique normally only seen naturally among a small handful of Pokemon as a result of their bizarre physical structure and abnormal powers. The trick room itself is a mysterious field or room of psychic energy that surrounds the entire battlefield and alters the very fabric of reality for about 5 combat turns, though it can only be safely executed after all the Pokemon on the battlefield have used the move within a single turn. During this time, the movement speeds of Pokemon in battle are completely reversed, and turn mean that slow Pokemon move much faster than normal, and fast Pokemon move much slower than normal. This sudden reversal of roles can make life extremely difficult for opponents that are unprepared for its effects, but if a sudden change of strategy is needed, the move can also be removed before its time is up, simply by having the user execute the move a second time. The combined effects of 2 trick rooms actually cancel each other out, and returning the battlefield to normal. Although it is quirky and extremely rare to see under normal circumstances, the trick room technique's sheer ability to change the face of the battlefield in such a drastic way more than made it worthy in the eyes of Silphco for TM format. Since being released as TM92 within the company's 4th through 7th generation line of TMs and recent Sinnoh Special Edition set, TM70 in 8th generation line, and TM161 in the 9th generation line, the move has found surprising use among high-powered, low-mobility teams, and has oddly gained much popularity despite its fairly recent introduction. Aside from using another trick room technique to cancel out the original's effects or waiting for it to wear off, there is no way to directly counter the effects of the trick room technique. In essence, the Wonder Room technique involves user generating a little room of psychic energy that swaps the different defensive stats of all present Pokemon. The Wonder Room technique is a rare and bizarre technique known only by a few families of Pokemon and is thus rarely ever seen much in battle. The Wonder Room itself is a mysterious field or room of psychic energy that surrounds the entire battlefield and alters the very fabric of reality for about 5 combat turns. During this time, all Pokemon on the field undergo a temporary physical alteration that essentially swaps their defense and special defense stats while the field is in place. This sudden stat alteration can make life extremely difficult for opponents that are unprepared for its effects, but if a sudden change of strategy is needed, the move can also be removed before its time is up, simply by having the user execute the move a second time. The combined effects of 2 Wonder Rooms actually cancel each other out, and returning the battlefield to normal. Although it is quirky and extremely rare to see under normal circumstances, the Wonder Room's technique's sheer ability to change the face of the battlefield in such a drastic way can make an interesting move to use in battle, if only for the sake of denying the opponent the ability to utilize their defenses as efficiently as before, which helps to explain why it's made into TM71 for Silphco's 8th generation line of TMs and TRs before being discontinued the following generation. Aside from using another Wonder Room technique to cancel out the original's effects or waiting for it to wear off, there is no way to directly counter the effects of the Wonder Room technique. In effect, the Magic Room technique involves user generating a little room of psychic energy that prevents all Pokemon present from properly utilizing their held items. The Magic Room technique is a rare and bizarre technique known only by a small handful of Pokemon and is thus rarely ever seen much in battle. the magic room itself is a mysterious field or room of psychic energy that surrounds the entire battlefield and alters the very fabric of reality for about 5 combat turns. During this time, all Pokémon on the field become unable to utilize the held items as if the items never existed, as the psychic field destroys the user's ability to recognize that the item even exists within their reality. This sudden elimination of health can make life extremely difficult for opponents that are unprepared for its effects, but if a sudden change of strategy is needed, the move can also be removed before its time is up, simply by having the user execute the move a second time. The combined effects of 2 magic rooms actually cancel each other out, and turn returning the battlefield to normal. Although it is quirky and extremely rare to see under normal circumstances, the magic room technique's sheer ability to change the face of the battlefield in such a drastic way can make it an interesting move to use in battle, if only for the sake of denying the opponent the chance to use their items, which helps explain why it's made to TM72 for LouyseCosa's 8th generation line of TMs and TRs before being discontinued the following generation. Aside from using another magic room technique to cancel out the original's effects or waiting for it to wear off, there's no way to directly counter the effects of the magic room technique. Much as its name suggests, the Heal Pulse technique involves user releasing a wave of restorative energy that then heals a target in battle in the same fashion as the Recover technique. The Heal Pulse technique could almost be thought of as an externalized form of the basic Recover technique. Instead of user energizing its own body to stimulate rapid cellular growth, the user utilizes psychic power to release a wave of restorative energy that instead triggers the same stimulation on a predetermined target. This powerful wave of energy can strike any target on the battlefield and will successfully restore 50% of the target's maximum HP with every use, so its effectiveness is more than observable in battle. It might certainly not do the user any good in keeping itself from biting the bullet on a significant attack, but when the user's allies are struggling to keep themselves healthy, this move can certainly help keep them in good spirits and ready for whatever onslaught the opponent brings out next. Unless recovery techniques are somehow blocked, there is no way to directly counter the effects of the Heal Pulse technique. Considered to be the signature technique of Oranguru, the Instruct technique involves user utilizing the power of psychic suggestion in order to make a target perform the move they performed last again. Oranguru are well known for their incredible intelligence and psychic powers, and this specialty technique allows them to combine the two to make combat an interesting experience for all. In effect, when Oranguru use this move, they focus on the mind of a particular nearby target and use their psychic powers to plant a suggestive thought in their mind. Outside of battle, Oranguru uses this tactic in order to help teach others, hence its name, but in battle it is used as a tool of manipulation to force the target to immediately use the move it used last again involuntarily, and thus the cost of little additional stamina. This move might not be able to give these creatures help in a direct fashion, but it can force opponents to use moves they only need to use once to repeat them, and therefore potentially alter their battle strategies, and it can equally be used on allies to have them perform a free additional move, so it can have quite a bit of use to it in the context of a multi-Pokemon battle in the later scenario. Due to its unique attributes, there is no way to directly counter the effects of the Instruct technique. That's it for this episode, so stay tuned for the next episode of TM Technical Movement. Thank you all for watching this video. It is a great pleasure to share with you all the fruits of my research and all the positives it gives to understanding the wonderful creatures we call Pokemon and how their powers and behaviors function in their world. If you enjoyed this video and would like to see more work like it, please give a like, comment, and or subscribe to the channel so you can get regular notifications on when new content is being uploaded. You can also find links to my DeviantArt page, Patreon, and Discord server in the description below. Please, join me on this road to seeing what the world of Pokemon has to share with us, and the many mysteries and wonders that keep us all coming back for more.